So in the Code of Virginia, every voting machine that's used in a locality to conduct an election is required to be tested. We call that a logic and accuracy test. So that's going to include your tabulators, any sort of ADA, Americans with Disability, voting devices that might help someone that has a vision impairment. It would also include the poll books, any electronic poll books that are used on election day to check voters in. So all of these tabulators, poll books, and ADA devices have to be checked before they can be used during early voting or election day. So there's a number of ways that these devices can be tested through a logic and accuracy test. But there's a general way that most localities are going to follow, and then you might get deeper into details specific to what machine you use. Each locality is allowed to use a different vendor for tabulator, poll book, and ADA device. So as far as the specifics of the testing, that will be determined by which equipment that your locality has chosen to use to conduct elections. So the tabulator is probably the most important logic and accuracy testing that's done, because of course that's the machine that's reading our ballots and giving us the results at the end of the night. So the easiest way to do a test on a tabulator is to get a number of ballots that would, test ballots that would show how many different results you could get in an election. So obviously an election with more things on the ballot, you're going to need more test ballots to test out all the different permeations. So what permeations are you checking for? You're obviously going to check for every single candidate, fill in each ballot that have a different vote for each candidate. You'll also want to submit tests that have no vote, overvote, which would be voting for too many candidates, and if the election allows for a write-in, a section for write-in. So under each office that you'll have on your ballot, you'll go through each different permeation per ballot. And so in a normal election, this could run anywhere from 100 ballots that you end up testing through the machine. That also might be determined by how many voting precincts you have in your locality, because the number of ballot styles that you need to test are going to be based on the number of voting precincts your locality may have. So once the ballots have been checked and you've given all the different permeations or outcomes that you could get, you will then put a spreadsheet together to come up with what those results should look like. After you've gotten your spreadsheet together that gives the results of what you've marked on your ballots, you'll then run those ballots through the machine. Once those ballots have been run through the machine, you'll then tabulate like you would on election night and get your results tapes and compare the results tapes to the spreadsheet you created from your test deck. And as long as the results from the machine and the spreadsheet that you've created match, then you know that the tabulator is accurately counting the results of the ballots. Obviously, you would want to put as many ballots as you possibly can with as many different permeations in there, so you can catch any possible issues that the machine might not be catching. So this will be done again and again for each machine that's going to be used in an election as far as the tabulators are concerned. The ADA devices are going to be checking to make sure that they accurately record how someone would use them to vote. So most of these devices would have some sort of ballot marking device or a touch screen, so you're verifying that those are accurately showing the results on the paper ballot or electronic device before they're fed into the tabulator. And then the poll books, you're going to check to make sure that that people that might have a special circumstance as far as their voter registration is concerned are showing up accurately in your poll book. You'll verify that they can be checked in, that they can be unchecked in, and any other of the various steps you might use on election day or during early voting. If a locality uses a ballot on demand system for early voting, which is something that is new to Virginia, you would also verify that that your ballot on demand system is accurately working and that it's printing the correct ballot for the precinct that the voter you've checked in votes in. And then you would also check those ballots through the tabulator. So if a locality does have a ballot on demand system, they would need to produce a number of the ballot on demand ballots in advance of the logic and accuracy test on the tabulators so that they can be included in that stack of test ballots. Same thing for the ADA device. So if you are using an ADA device that produces a paper ballot, as most of the vendors in Virginia do, you'll want to create a number of those in advance to add to that test deck. The logic and accuracy testing will have a variety of observers as it's happening. Your general registrar in your locality is required under code to send out a notice a number of days before the logic and accuracy testing happens to the chairs of the two political parties and any independent candidates that may be on the ballot for the election that you're testing. So those individuals are allowed to come and observe. The logic and accuracy testing has to happen in the presence of either a local electoral board member, the general registrar, or one of their designee. And they'll be conducted by a vendor or a machine custodian, as they're called in most localities that are typically responsible for maintaining and helping with programming tabulators and other election equipment. So that logic and accuracy testing has to be done a number of days before voting starts for early voting in Virginia and, of course, Election Day to make sure that if there are any potential errors with that specific machine or with the programming for the ballots or the specific programming for the machines, that can be found and fixed and remedied before voting starts. So if there are issues that are found with the ballot as far as how it was printed or any of the programming, then if you reorder those ballots or programming from your vendor, then that also must be tested. So you need to give your locality enough time to receive more test ballots and a programming to make sure you have time to test it multiple times if need be. Logic and accuracy testing is done every election required by code to make sure that the machines in Virginia work accurately and that we are giving the most accurate results that we can on election night.